What's up and welcome to the channel. My name is Headshot and thank you for joining us. Today we are going to do a head-to-head comparison of the P365 versus the P365 XL, two very popular concealed carry firearms, and I'm going to tell you everything I know about them, pros and cons, how they carry, how that looks inside the waistband specifically against each other, and we're going to talk about everything, how they shoot, all of that kind of stuff, and the differences that I see, the main differences between these. And what it's really going to come down to, in my opinion, is two main differences, or maybe three, but we're going to cover all of that. Just remember, if there's something I miss in this review, because I don't go over every single detail like I do in the standalones, I'll link up top here so you can go over and check out each individual review on the guns if there's something I missed and you want to check out more about them. All right. Really quick, I'd like to thank our SHOT Team member of the week, Mr. James Wise. He was a Power patron, and then he upped his support to a Hollow Point patron. We appreciate him. He's been with us for a while, and we thank him. So, James Wise, you're the patron of the week. Look for your name coming up on our thumbnails and all of that good stuff here in the next couple of days. And let's go ahead and get started. So, full disclaimer, P365 has had some issues, but all I can tell you is through 1,000 rounds here and a few hundred rounds here, I haven't had any issues yet. Okay, occasionally the slide won't lock back on this one, but as far as like major issues, anything like that, I haven't had them. Okay, so there you go. All right, let's start with specs here, and then we'll go to features. The P365, the original one, 3.1 inch barrel. Overall length is 5.8 inches. Height is 4.3 inches, width right at an inch, and the weight is 17.8 ounces with an empty mag. On the XL, and don't mind the Streamlight TLR6 that I have on here, it's not going to make any difference for what we're doing on this review. But specs on the XL, 3.7 inch barrel, 6.6 inches in overall length, height is 4.8 inches, width is 1.1 inch, and the unloaded weight is 20.7 ounces. So you have a couple ounces difference in the weight, and you have a little bit longer overall grip and barrel, of course. But what those looks like slide to slide and right next to each other, let me put it where y'all can see that really well. There's your difference in length. This may make a difference if you're doing appendix carry, or if you carry off person and you're in a purse or in a bag or something like that. May make a little bit of difference to you. What about the width? That's what they look like. Side by side, it's 1/10 of an inch, so nothing significant there. Where you will notice a little bit of a difference here, got 10 rounds in the SIG, 12 rounds in the XL. So you have 10 rounds in the regular P365, 12 in the XL. And there's your difference. You basically have a 1/2 of an inch difference here in the grip length. And this is what you're trying to conceal. This is a big dimension right here. Okay, so you'll have to figure out if 2 more rounds is worth it to you. But there's a little bit more to it than that. Let's talk about the features here. And really, I only have to go over one of them besides a few differences on the XL. Front and rear slide serrations. Really sharp looking gun. You know, a lot of times when you get these smaller guns, they start to look kind of goofy. They did a really nice job with the balancing and look of the gun. I understand it's very subjective, but I think the gun looks sharp. Rounded off trigger guard. All right, undercut in the trigger so you can get a nice full grip on the gun. Magazine release is reversible. All right, the magazine is where the magic is on these P365s. That's why they put the patents on them. And somebody had mentioned in the last video we did, they don't look any different than a traditional mag. And yes and no. Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if you look at the way they taper their mag at the top, almost looks like a double stack down here, but then it just slightly tapers. And where this makes a difference is if you look at this PPS mag, all right, that's clearly a single stack mag, much like a 1911. The only way you get more rounds into something like this is you make it longer. Well, if you have a staggered type of mag, where the rounds are not straight on top of each other, but they kind of do this number right here. This is a M&P shield mag. 7 rounds. Obviously a little bit shorter than the P365, and it does have a slight taper up here, but not as significant as a step. And then if you look at like a Glock 19 double stack mag, so now the gun is much wider, but you can get more rounds in there. So they did a slight taper up starting at about this point. And, you know, I don't know the intricacies and the ins and outs. Like I said, I don't design firearms or magazines, but it was enough to put patents on this thing, and it's working. All right, so the capacity is definitely very good for the size of the firearm. Pretty much unmatched right now if you think about it. If you're looking solely at firearm to firearm, it's impressive. Okay, so the grip texturing, you can see it's a rough kind of texturing. I personally really like that, especially when you're firing at the range. I just think it does a great job of keeping this gun locked into your hand. It'll eat your skin up a little bit, so you may want to wear an undershirt in between your skin and this grip, but overall I do like that. You do have the X-ray sights, the day-night sights as Sig calls them, blacked out in the rear. That front green really bright dot helps to pick it up during the day, and of course tritium inserts, which is really nice. So on the P365 XL, what they changed is obviously it's a little bit longer, but now you have the optic plate up top. So this would come off, and you could put one of the Romeo Zeros that Sig makes, or like the Shield RMSC optic on there if you wanted to run that on your carry gun. Flat trigger, of course, and a couple other little things that they did. Again, the X-ray sights, a little bit different in profile. If we look at the sights like this, you can see they both have a shelf, so you can do one-handed reloads if you needed to. This one is just much shorter than the XL. Okay, so a little bit longer sight radius on the XL if that's something that you wanted. One nice thing is that they put this proprietary rail, but from what I've seen, all of the like the Foxtrot, Lima, this TLR6, they all fit on there, okay, which is really good. And I did some pictures and stuff and showed y'all how that worked when we did our holster review for this gun. All right, so a couple little changes, but all in all, not too much of a difference. So if you look at the profile of the guns all the way around, slide stops pretty much in the same area, magazine release in the same area. The magazine release kind of cants forward here just a little bit, so you can drop those mags. One nice thing they did is they flared the mag well on the XL, so you can get those mags in and out much easier compared to the P365, the original one. You can see how it is not nearly as flared as the XL. Here's the XL, there's the regular. All right, so that's a nice little feature they did. And another good thing, in my opinion, is they made the magazines interchangeable. So now, if you don't have the grip sleeve, it doesn't matter. It just looks a little bit goofy, but those mags will work in the original P365. Slide locks back, all of that good stuff. And there's a 15-round option too, if you want to carry a backup or anything like that. One other minor little change that might make a difference for some is they added this beaver tail. So it's like their X series grip. So you get a little bit more coverage back there than you did on the original. Keeps the slide bite away, and overall when you pick this gun up in your hand, you're gonna, I think most people are gonna say, man, that feels much more comfortable, much better in the grip. And of course when we go to the range, that's gonna make a little bit of difference as well. Flat trigger, we talked about that. As far as what the guns are made of, carbon steel, stainless steel slides, nitron finish, all of that good stuff, polymer, and all of that. All right, so let's go to the range. Let's show a little bit of difference here. We're not going to do a ton of shooting, but I definitely want to show you what these guns look like side by side. And then when we get back, we'll talk about pros and cons. I'll show you the trigger weight on each one and show you what they look like inside the waistband, and give you my overall opinion, tell you which one I like better. We'll see you guys in a minute. All right, so as you can see, both guns really do very well at the range. Okay, you have 2 more rounds out of the XL. That's not going to make or break your. If you're looking for a solely dedicated shooting firearm, a range firearm, 2 rounds is 2 rounds. It's not going to make that much of a difference at the range. It's nice to reload less, but it's not going to make or break which one you would choose. Where you'll notice the difference, one of the big differences between these guns is, again, going back to the grip and the way this gun feels in the hand. I mean, it fits my hand. I have pretty small hands, but either way, it still just fits like a glove. I mean, it really does. It feels very nice in the hand, feels great at the range, pointing. Both guns are very natural shooters, and that's a natural point of aim, I should say. That's something I like about SIG. But they both have their pros and cons at the range. I do like this flat trigger. I'm starting to get a little more used to it. At first, I was not totally sold on it, but it does break quite nice, and it helps keep your trigger pull to go straight back, as opposed to the hook style trigger, which you can still shoot with this just fine. But it does help to kind of keep your pulls straight back, keep everything in line. Both of them really have decent triggers. They're just different in the way they break. 5 pounds, 8 ounces on the regular SIG. This one does have more rounds in it, but let's try it one more time for consistency's sake. 5 pounds, 6 ounces. Let's try the XL here. 5 pounds, 3 ounces. One more time. 5 pound, 9 ounces. So about the same weight, trigger pull and weight wise, but overall, I think that most people will notice the XL is more comfortable, little less muzzle rise, and maybe a little less felt recoil. Okay, overall, not too bad. Magazine changes and stuff are going to be easier with the XL, which I can appreciate that because of that flared mag well. All right, both guns feel really good in the hand, and if you're looking for a dual purpose firearm, one that you can take to the range, practice with, go with your buddies or anything like that, something that you could have at the house for home defense. It's got a rail so you can hook up a light or a laser, which is super important for home defense, and a carry gun. This might be a good option for you, because I feel like even with the limited capacity, there's still, it's not 6 or 7 rounds, 10, 12 rounds. That's pretty good. And you have 15 round mags that you can take with you to the range, so you don't have to reload quite as much. That's a pretty complete package. One thing I will say is if you're going to buy one of these, make sure you get one of the later models of the P365. I have seen some reports, I think Justin and Pinion had an issue with this, where you pull the trigger and then you went to go pull the slide back and it like locked up. The only thing I've noticed with mine is that the slide does stiffen up a bit, but I can still pull it back and get the trigger to reset and everything just fine. So at the range, both guns are pretty good. I'd give the nod to the XL though, just because of those things we just talked about. Let me show you what they look like on concealed carry wise inside the waistband. I'm using the Tolster holsters. If you guys don't know, Tolster is my holster of choice, and I have a video up for that if you want to check out the features of that. I'll leave a link up below so you can go over and check that out. But I'm going to show you what they look like on with a regular shirt, regular shorts, and a gun belt on. Let's get to that real quick. All right, so the first thing I want to show you here is the P365. I'm going to show you the way I normally carry it, which is in between 3 and 5 o'clock position. Right around 4 o'clock is where I typically carry, and that's what it looks like right there. P365 is a very short grip, so it's easy to conceal, even easier if you can carry a appendix. And then here's a quick draw, so I wanted to show you that as well. Here is the P365 XL. And of course I want you to see the difference. And again, this is a light colored shirt, a very regular shirt, you know, so you can hopefully see the difference. And then I'm going to show you Mrs. Headshot with both guns on as well. And then moving it to appendix. Unfortunately, I don't have the body type for appendix, but you can conceal a much bigger gun appendix. Just saying. And then a quick draw for the P365 XL. So there's the difference between the two. So let's talk about pros and cons, and I'm going to do this in the just in the confines of this video. So this gun versus this one, not all the pros and cons. So the way I see it, and it comes really down to this. So what I'm showing you right now is a picture of Mrs. Headshot with the P365 on, and then the P365 XL. You can see that with her more form-fitting clothes inside the waistband, this is almost, the P365 is almost too big. I mean, it still prints on her. It just depends on the position that she's carrying. So the P365 XL is, of course, going to be too big. And that's the kind of difference we're talking about. So if the P365, the regular one, is on the upper end of guns that you can comfortably carry and not print or whatever, then the XL is just going to be a little bit too big for you. If that's not a concern, basically you have 2 more rounds, a better shooting gun, at least in my hands, I think, and a more comfortable gun. All right, so it really depends on where you're at, what your application is, your body type, how are you going to carry, because this, although it doesn't look significant on paper, it could very well be significant for you, okay? You have the XL, which is a more comfortable gun to shoot at the range, but that always comes with the cost of increased size. And if you never carried before and you're thinking about carrying or whatever the case may be, you may be looking at these things like, okay, you're talking about 2.5 ounces and 1/2 inch. But I can tell you, trust me, it makes all the difference, especially when you're talking about inside the waistband. It really does. I'm showing you right here what kind of a difference that actually makes. On me, and me personally, I am willing to take the little bit of extra weight to have 2 more rounds on me. Actually, 4 more rounds, because if you're carrying an extra mag, now you have 4 additional rounds. I feel comfortable with the P365 and my shooting ability with it, but I prefer the XL over the P365 for the reasons I just told you. All right, mag changes are a little bit easier and all of that. I'm not so concerned with the optic capability. I'm not quite sold on that just yet on my carry guns, but I can see the benefit to that. And the only qualm I have with that, I think there is an adapter. I actually looked this up with a friend. There is an adapter that you can still keep a rear sight and have that rear sight, but I don't want to lose my rear sight. If I had an optic, I want to make sure that I have a rear backup sight that will co-witness with my front sight. I don't want to lose that. So like I said, I'm not totally sold on that, but you don't have to use that feature. It's just an extra feature that comes on the gun. But for my purposes and my body type, I think the XL is small enough to carry comfortably every single day. But what I would say is get both guns in your hands. If you can, go to range, fire them side by side, see which one is more comfortable to you. Because I think the P365, if the XL is too big and you wouldn't carry that anyways, the P365 is going to be a great option. And it's going to give you, in this size, in this category of guns, it's going to give you the most amount of rounds in such a small little package. Again, disclaimer, make sure you get one of the later models of the P365, okay? Because they've worked out the kinks. From what I've seen, the majority of these guns are running pretty well now. Now, here's one of the other big differences that I want to talk about, and that's in the grip lengths. So when we're talking about carry, most of the time I'm referring to inside the waistband because that's what I do most of the time. That's what Mrs. Headshot does most of the time. And that's what a lot of people do. They carry inside the waistband. So the grips you're going to give and take here as well. Obviously, the P365 is going to be a little bit easier to conceal. You're going to be worrying about printing a little bit less, but it's going to be, in theory, harder to draw, or it's going to take more practice to get your draw stroke really good with this because you have less that you have to get to there. On the flip side, you have the P365 XL. You have now more to hold on to. You have what should be an easier grip to get to, full grip, get the gun out, present the firearm. But that half inch, of course, is going to, depending on where you carry, how you carry all this good stuff, is going to make a difference as far as your printing. May make it a little harder to conceal. One thing that I noticed, though, just doing these back-to-back that I hadn't really noticed before, is with the longer grip, if you're carrying anywhere from 3 to 5 o'clock position, maybe even appendix, you want to keep in mind that now your shirt has more to grab onto as well. So when you go to clear your shirt and grab the grip, you want to make sure that you're grabbing that shirt far enough back to where you can get a full grip and draw the gun out of the holster. Okay, so you're going to give and take here a little bit. Much easier to conceal. It's going to be easier to not print with the P365, but it's going to be harder to draw out of a holster, where the XL will be a little bit harder to conceal, but easier to draw out of the holster. You just want to make sure that you're able to clear your shirt up and around that extra little bit of grip length there. So in a nutshell, if I had to grade them both, when it comes to carry, I would actually give the P365 a 9. I would give the XL like an 8.5. When it comes to the range, I'd give the XL a 9. And then I'd give the P365 an 8 to 8.5. All right. A little bit of give and take. There's always going to be give and take. As you increase your capacity, you're going to increase in weight and size, and then printing and all that kind of stuff comes along with it. Personally, for the money, I think the P365 XL offers you more and not too much more repercussions from it. That's just my opinion. I would, of course, like to hear what yours is down in the comments below. We will see you guys on the next one. And as always, hold them down.